So, Dr. Pai, welcome on my channel once again, and I couldn't think of anybody else but you to discuss Sri Krishna's horoscope with you. There are a lot of people who have given Sri Krishna's horoscope, but how would you pick or choose today for today's discussion the right horoscope of Krishna, or probably, you can say, probably the correct horoscope of Sri Krishna?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm honored to be back here on your channel, Preetika ji. Okay, whenever we start discussing about Sri Krishna's chart, the first thing that I want to clarify is whenever we talk about avatars, avatarana, which means they are here, from yug to yug, they come here, and he's a yug purush. Sri Krishna is a yug purush. And then the other thing that we know from the evidence of the scriptures, see, when we have to reconstruct a chart, when there is so much of ambiguity which is also there when it comes to these avatars. So first of all, I want to say that we would never be able to say what is the absolute right thing and what is the chart which is the correct chart. Now, what we can possibly do is, based on the scriptural evidence that has been provided on the events of the life of Lord Shree Krishna, that is one of the approaches. Like, for example, there is scriptural evidence which is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is called as Bhagvat Purana. So in the 10th canto, which is the 10th skanda, the 3rd chapter, talks about the birth of Lord Shree Krishna. What is given there is, it says he was born in the middle of the night on the waning phase of the moon, which is Krishna Paksha Ashtami Tithi, and Rohini moon is what has been mentioned there.
Okay.
Now, whenever we have to go into a reconstruction mode, like I said, scriptural evidence, what are the scriptures that I am referring to? Srimad Bhagavatam, then Vishnu Puran, then Harivansh Puran, and also Matsya Puran. Why I'm giving Matsya Puran? Matsya Puran doesn't give about the birth of Krishna, but Matsya Puran talks about the start of Kali Yuga. And Matsya Puran says Kali Yuga starts the day when Krishna leaves, earth plane to go to the heavens, to Vaikunta, back to his abode. So when he was just visiting here, like all his previous incarnations, 7 incarnations that he had taken. So that is one of the themes that I would look at reconstruction. The other is characteristics and features of a native and the attributes that people describe him to be. That also adds to looking at what combinations in the chart would be more appropriate. Then the third thing that I would also do is corroborating the life events that are recorded in the scriptures. Then, of course, we will add, folklore to that, rituals, customs, traditions, also to, kind of rebuild the whole life history of Lord Shree Krishna. Okay, so what we know only is the first thing, Preetika ji, we know he's born at midnight, around midnight. Then we know he's Krishna Ashtami, and he is known as Rohini moon, and it is also said Uditam Lagnam, which means his Lagna is also said to be in Taurus. Udita Lagna is also said to be in Taurus. So I think most of the scholars and historians do agree on this. Now, then the third aspect that I would also say is based on astronomy and the concepts of astrometeorology. What conditions under which somebody is being born is also very important. Now, scripturally, I said Matsya Puran says when is his exact time, because that is when Kali Yuga begins. That has been referred. Then Srimad Bhagavatam, then Vishnu Puran and Harivansh Puran talk about various aspects. Like, for example, Harivansh Puran also says he's born in Abhijit Muhurta. Now, I'm referring to a video which was done by Saptarishi's Astrology with Sri K.N.Rao. When we start into astrology, the first lessons of getting introduced into astrology in the Paramparik traditions is always to start with the charts of Lord Shree Ram and Lord Shree Krishna to go to the depth of it. Okay.
Right.
Then the next is astrometeorology and astronomy. Why I'm saying this is astrometeorology also because these scriptures also talk, Preetika, they say when he was born on the middle of the night, there was torrential rains and Yamuna river was overflowing. There was floods in the Yamuna. And as soon as he was born, he started creating miracles because all the prisoners in the prison, he was born in a prison. So that is also a very important thing to say, that his parents were in prison. So that also has to show up in the chart. He was born inside a prison. He was not born inside a palace like Lord Shree Ram was born inside a palace.
Yeah.
So all of these are slowly able to reconstruct the chart. Now, what we definitely know based on this research approach is moon is in Rohini Nakshatra. Now, we do not know where degreecally it is. Okay. So there is no reference to that. And then we know his Lagna is also in Taurus. That's the second thing we know. Now, the third thing that we know is he's born in Krishna, Ashtami Tithi. So that means sun has to be almost 84 degrees to 95 degrees away from the moon.
Okay.
That is the third component we know. So, given all of these parameters, his sun has to be either in Magha Nakshatra, but which is looking very unlikely, knowing the traits. It could be in Purva Falguni Nakshatra. Purva Falguni suits better for him because that will come into the fourth house of Leo. Okay. Sun is in Leo. Now, there are two more things that we will be able to reconstruct this. First of all, there is also, we know from his attributes that Lord Sri Krishna was, Savala, which means he was like little bit darker skinned. So for darker skinned, or he was blue skinned. Even Lord Sri Ram has got that blue dark skin that was there. That's why he was called as Krishna. Now remember, Krishna is the 57th name of Vishnu in Vishnu Sahasranama. Right? Now I'll give you some more themes about him. So that means he was said to be absolutely charismatic, enigmatic, like he was himself like a Kamdev. So you have to see that his Lagna, which means skin tone in astrology, comes from your influence on the Lagna or the Lagnesh, which means the Lagna Lord. And of course, you have to see the Navamsha to see what is the color tone. So he has to have that tone, then he has to have an influence of Saturn. Saturn usually gives you the skin tone of a little bit darker skin, or, rustic skin is what we say, right? Then he was completely a mesmerizing. He was like absolutely like a very cute baby. So that means the moon in the Lagna itself is showing you that. It's in a, Ashtami. So these are some of the themes that I'm saying that is already given, and we know that sun will be in the fourth house. Now, one more thing is Rohini. Now, we have to use symbology here as well. Now, if you know that Lagna is Taurus, Vrishabha, and Vrishabha moon also, which is an exalted moon. And, we also know the sun also is in the fourth house. And we are assuming that based on the calculations of Ashtami Tithi, I said it can only be within this bracket of 84 degrees to 94 degrees or 95 degrees. 96 degrees is still it can go, but 96 degrees, the thing will change. So we know for sure that sun has to be in the fourth house. Remember, astronomy, you have to be very, very pakka with, because only astronomical secrets. So if sun has to be in the 4th house if you are midnight born. Remember this. Anybody's chart, if you see sun in the 1st house, means he's born during sunrise time. If anybody's sun is in the 7th bhava, 7th house, that means he is born at sunset time. If anybody's sun is in the 10th bhava, like it was Lord Shree Ram's, he was also born in Abhijit Muhurta, but in the afternoon, mid-afternoon. So his sun should be in the 10th bhava. So Krishna's sun in the 4th bhava is midnight birth. 10th bhava is mid-noon birth. Sun in 1st, sunrise. Sun in 7th, So this is very, very confirmed. 2 more things that we can say 100% this chart would be correct is Mercury can only go 28 degrees from the sun, wherever the sun is sitting, because it's astronomy. It cannot go. Mathematically, Ganit Shastra says it cannot go more than 28 degrees. So it has to be from the sun within 28 degrees, back or forward. Then Shukra, Venus, because these are inner planets, they're very close to the sun. They can't go, Venus cannot go more than 48 degrees on either side of the sun. So that means Venus can at the max go 2 houses away from the sun, and Mercury at the max can go 1 house away from the sun. Either ways, it can be behind or it can be forward from the sun. So this is again very important. Okay. So this is known, and we also know it was Shravana, the month of Shravana, that he was born. In Amanta, it is called Ashada. In Purnimanta Masa, it is called a Shravana. So these are very clearly defined. Then the third thing that we also know, that he has separated from his parents when he was born. At childbirth, he had to separate from his parents, and he was brought up till the age of 10 and a half, till he leaves. We know many of his leelas that started happening. He is called as a leela avatar. And the other thing we also know, Preetika ji, is Krishna is believed to have all the 16 kalas with him. Kala means art. So 16 arts that he was Purna avatar. Even Ram was Purna avatar, but Ram had only 14 kalas, 2 kalas less than Sri Krishna. Krishna had all the 16 kalas. 16 kalas means you should know, Sri Ram is from the solar dynasty. Sri Krishna is from the lunar dynasty. So he's Chandravamshi. Okay. So, and Ram was Suryavamshi, solar dynasty. So we know these are 2 very distinctive dynasties. And who is the Kuladevata of the Yadava clan? That also is very important to know, because the Kuladevata is none other than Shiva as Somanatha. And Krishna is supposed to have rebuilt, in fact, the Somanatha temple during his time. It was first built by Soma himself, which is Chandra, moon, in Prabhas Kshetra or Prabhas Pattanam, it is called in the scriptures, even in Skanda Puran, which is today's, wherever it is, in Gujarat, Saurashtra, Somanathancha. Even Adi Shankara, even in his shloka, he says. So if you understand that, he is Somanatha, is his Kuladevata of the Yadava clan. So moon and night birth, that means you will also know that there are certain planets which are more powerful during night birth in astrology. So moon is very strong during night. Then Saturn is very strong during night. And then we know that Mars is very strong during night. So these planets have to come strong for him. So moon is exalted already, in Taurus. Okay. Now, there is also another themes that we'll have to look at is based on his life history, because when we say somebody is being born in, we know his dashas, because if he's born in Rohini Nakshatra, that means he has Moon Mahadasha is when he was born.
Okay.
Yes. Of course, he was born in Moon Mahadasha. The second thing that we know from the scriptures is he must have been in Mars Mahadasha. See, it is not very difficult to understand because if he cannot have been born exactly when Rohini was starting, so he must have been born. Our guesstimate is he must have been born in based on some of the events which we see. There is also another thing I will tell you why I see that he must have been born with moon in the second pada of Rohini. Now, why am I saying that? Is because Lord Sri Krishna has ruled for many, many years. See, I'll give you his three major parts of Krishna's life, and then that helps us in our reconstruction. The first part of his life was first 10 years, 6 months of his life was called as Vraj Leela, or his childhood in the village of Gokul, okay, which is called as Braj, is that is 0 to almost 7 years. You can see his Gokul is 0 to 3 years, and then 3 to 7 years he was more in Vrindavan. So that first 10 years, 6 months is called as a Vraj Leela, or it's called Bal Leela of Lord Sri Krishna. The next 11 years, 6 months roughly is called as Mathura Leela. So, see, this is one more thing, Preetika ji, what I want to add. Shri Krishna left Gokul or Vrindavan at the age of 10 and a half or 10, between 10 and 11 is what is given in the scriptures. I'm not making it up. And never to come back to Gokul and Vrindavan. Never to play the flute again is what has been also said by some people. So he left everything, whatever happened, which means the Maharas, the Ras Leela that happened, all slaying of all the multiple demons right from Putana. He was only 6 days when he was attempted to be murdered. So which means Krishna's chart should show Balarishta. What is Balarishta? Balarishta means when a child is born, there is fear of death. She had this fear of death, till he slayed his uncle Kamsa. And it is also said Kamsa was slayed on a Shivratri day. When Krishna has completed 10 years and he was running his 11th year, so he must have slayed him in his 11th year. That is a very important other thing that we know.
Okay.
So after Mathura Leela, then is Dwaraka Leela, which was for a period of 105 years. Dwaraka, which was establishment of his kingdom of Dwaraka. And then, can you imagine, he had constructed Dwaraka by annexing in the waters. So today Dwaraka is under the oceans. That's a curse also. You can see many curses. The third other thing that I would also use is to know his previous incarnation and the curse which has come from the previous incarnation. See, in a Ram avatar of Vishnu, there is a curse that he has taken up. Ram has taken up a curse. You know what is the curse he has taken up? He took a curse with the Bali or Vali, he was called. See, Vali says, why didn't you come in front of me and fight with me? Why did you have to hide behind a tree and then shoot me with an arrow and kill me? Remember this curses. Last time we said past life. This is past life. So in the past life, because Vali, the great Vanara king, had a boon from Brahma, saying that anybody who comes in front of him, he would get half of his powers. And of course, Bali was himself so very powerful. But imagine, somebody comes in front of you, you are getting half of the other people's powers. That means you are even having the power to. And Vali was one guy who was defeated even Ravana during that time.
Okay.
So Ram, if he came in front of Vali, he knew that he would get half of my powers, and it was impossible to defeat Vali. Now that karma has triggered and come into Krishna's life. A fowler or a hunter called Jara. A fowler or hunter called Jara, he shot an arrow thinking it is a deer, and it hit the big toe of Krishna's feet, and then Krishna left his body. That is how the end of Krishna's life is. That means a sharp object which is going to your feet. So that means astrologically also we can say, when the sharp object has to be Mars. Mars is a weapon and sharp. If you die because of something which is a sharp object and like a weapon, then Mars has to show. And it is the feet. So that means the 12th house is the feet, also has to show in the chart.
Right. Yeah.
All of these are used in the reconstruction because it's a karma. So Jara is Vali from the previous life. Jara, the hunter, was Vali from the previous life. He has come to settle score. That you, in the last time, you sat behind a tree and you shot me. Now I come, and without his knowledge, Jara's knowledge, he shoots thinking it's a deer, but it hits Krishna's feet. Now there is one more construction that is also said in the scriptures, that Krishna was sitting under an Ashwatha tree, which means a peepal tree, when this happened. So much of information is there. You need to know.
Is there a Ketu also in the 12th house?
That is in K.N.Rao's construction, that also you see. And Mars's fourth aspect you will also see on the 12th house.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah. So these are the themes that you have to work with. So what we know definitely is Taurus rising, moon there is born at midnight. Sun has to be in the 4th house. Sun will be in Purva Falguni. Now I'll give you one more trait of a Purva Falguni and Rohini. This is for all your viewers. See, one of the symbologies of Purva Falguni is a swinging hammock. You know what is a hammock?
Yeah.
It's like a swing, we can say, where you're swinging or you're relaxing by the beach and there is a hammock and you're lying inside the hammock. Okay. Krishna is supposed to love sitting on a swing or on a hammock. He used to rest alone on a hammock. Do you know even Shri Shirdi Sai Baba also used to lie on a hammock? So that, see, anybody who has Purva Falguni, you will know that. And Purva Falguni is one very charismatic nakshatra ruled by Bhaga.
Okay.
So if you see traditionally where Krishna is with Radha on a swing or something, that is a beautiful reconstruction of Purva Falguni. If he's sitting when he's thinking strategically about the war on a swing, that is again a reconstruction of his son sitting in a swing. Then the other thing I'll tell you, the symbology of Rohini, Preetika ji. Rohini nakshatra means a chariot.
Acha.
That's the symbology. And moon becomes his 3rd house lord of Karka, which means Cancer. 3rd lord sitting in the 1st. What is 3rd lord? 3rd lord is short travels that you do. And he was a driver. That's the combination for a chauffeur or a driver. He was a driver. He was a rider of Arjuna's horse.
The chariot.
The chariot. Also, remember, moon elopes. Moon is the mind and it elopes. We know the story that moon eloped with, we say, Tara. Tara means the star. Who is she? Tara was the wife of Brihaspati. So he elopes. You know how Krishna eloped with the Rukmini? He actually stole her from her kingdom, brought her in her chariot, and he ran away. Because Rukmini wanted to marry. Now, again, there is a curse there. Remember this. Do you know the curse which Rukmini brings with for Krishna? See, when Shiva burns Manmatha or Cupid, we call it Kamadev, he burns him to ashes. His consort, Rati, is grieving. She really grieves in front of Shiva and says, can you bring him back? That is when Shiva says, you will reunite with him in your next incarnation, when Krishna's avatar takes place. And, the son which is born through the union of Rukmini and Krishna is Manmadha.
Okay.
And Rati reincarnates to marry the son of Krishna. The first son of Krishna from Rukmini and Krishna was called as Pradyumna. Pradyumna is said to be an incarnation of Kamadev, Manmadha, Cupid. There are so many such things that you'll be able to discover. Now I'll tell you based on some evidence. See, by the sixth day, he had killed Purana. Then till the first 3 years, he has killed things called Trinivatra. Then from between the age of 3 and 7, he started killing demons. There are so many demons he has killed. You will probably go and see from the scriptures, it says, it is called as Bakasura, not Bakasura, Bakasura, Aghasura, Dhenukasura, Vatsasura. So, and even taming down of Kaliya Nag, the Kaliya serpent.
So does his chart show him being this, you can say like a killer or a murderer? Or
Yes. And that is why we have to know that. Let me go to the chart now. I'll show you some of the charts and then we will discuss this. So what all we know, that he lived for almost 125 years, and between 125 and 126th year, that's what has been given in the scriptures. Okay. Then we will see how you will reconstruct his chart and how he killed. But if you really see all the killings that he has done, they are not like a brutal killing. It was somebody who can tame his enemies, and he would give them, like if you see most of the Bal Leelas he has done, he would swing a Vatsasura and he will throw that like that. He has done some things which are really, astonishing and funny.
So you're saying that the killings that Krishna did shows that he did it for dharma or for order, right?
Exactly. And one more thing I want to say, the beauty of his chart also, when he's young, do you know one thing that protected him and who gave him that protection? A very strong protective shield was given to him. And that was given to him by his Kula Devata, which Kul Devata is Somnatha. Shiva. Shiva himself comes and gives him that. The thing that is also we should know is what protects the children is from all kinds of toxicity and toxic things that are coming towards him. Do you know what was that protective shield and armor that was given to him? We all know that, but we have not paid attention to it.
I don't know.
It is the peacock feather on his head.
Okay.
Peacock is called as Shikin as well. Shikin means it is also the mount of Lord Kartikeya, Lord Skanda Subramanya. So what is it? The peacock has the ability to crush the serpents by its feet. The peacock. So crushing the serpents is like the nodes, the Rahu and the Ketu. Rahu and the Ketus are the Rakshasas, the demons, the Pisachas, all kinds of things that can come to, like the goblins, and those are the ones which can be a threat to a child. So he put that on his forehead. That is again a symbol of Mars. See, there are so many stories that I can tell you like this, because Mars is what? Kartikeya. So Mars's influence has to be there on the head, which means Aries sign. Head is Aries sign. So if you see always wears a peacock feather on his head, then you should know he's protecting his head. Head is Aries, the first sign. Now, these are the 16 kalas or kalas of Lord Sri Krishna. Daya, Dhairya, Shama, Nyaya. So that is why he is called as a Sampurna. See, there are only 16 phases of the moon also. You have to understand the esoteric and spiritual side of Krishna. So what are the 16 phases of the moon? Do you know, Preetika? There are 14 phases, which is called as you start with Pratima Tithi, Dvitiya Tithi, Tritiya. So these are different phases of the moon. So there are 14 phases in the waxing moon. There are 14 phases in the waning moon. Plus there is a new moon and there is a full moon. So 14 plus 2 is 16. That is why he is a complete formation of, the moon. He is a complete master. He's also, I will give you some more things about him, very, very interesting before I go to the chart. And this is what I did a post on Krishna Janmashtami, 3 years ago. It's very, very fascinating. Now, for those people who are fascinated by numbers, Krishna is the number 8.
8. Why did I feel that? I just felt he's number 8, but I didn't know this.
I'll give you reasons. He's the 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu.
Okay.
Point number 1. He is the 8th child of Devaki and Vasudeva. 7 children were killed by Kamsa before that. He's born on a Ashtami. Ashtami means the 8th waning phase of the moon. Krishna Paksha, Ashtami, 8 again. Then there are 16,000 gopiyas or queens that he had released from Narakasura. Now these 16,000 in the spiritual yogic parlance, it is the 16,000 petals of the 1,000 lotuses that are blossoming, which means he is already a Kundalini master. He's also called as Yogi Raj as well. I'll tell you more significance. As soon as he is born, his Kundalini Shakti was activated. That itself is shown by the 1,000-headed Shesh Nag coming as an umbrella on his head as he was crossing the Yamuna river as soon as he was born. Without Shesh Nag is what? Coming on your forehead and protecting you, because it was torrential rains and floods that was happening. Vasudeva had to take him towards the other side of the river. See, Yamuna, every river has some significance. Again, we will have to know. That's why I said meteorology is very important. See, Aries is associated with Ganga. Taurus is associated with Yamuna.
Okay.
Moon in Yamuna. He's born near a river in Mathura. He was born in Mathura. Okay, then he is 16,100. 1 plus 6 plus 1, if you add, it's 8 again. 16,100. 1 plus 6 plus 1. Right? So you see, he lived for 125 years. 1 plus 2 plus 5 is again 8. So he lived for 125 years, 8 months and 8 days is what has been said. So 8 is a number. What is his most popular shloka, which you know from Bhagavad Gita? It is shloka number 8, chapter number 4. Shloka number 8, which is this: Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkratam dharma samstharpanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. For the protection of the righteous, for destruction of the wicked, and for establishment of dharma, I will be born again and again in every yuga. That is his 8th sloka. Then one more thing I will tell you about Krishna is Krishna has always been offered 8 sweet meals a day. During Krishna Janmashtami, 8 bhog we give. And there is also a custom which is called as Chappan Bhog. Have you heard of Chappan Bhog? Chappan means 56. So remember, 8 again is very, very important for him. So there are so many things. Even if you see even Radharani. Radharani there are 8 ras, emotions: love, humor, sadness, anger, courage, fear, horror, and wonder. Lord Krishna is a master of Ras Leela, which means all these, some people call it Navaras, but 8 rasas are very, very prominent. So Krishna started, when the war started of Mahabharata. Do you know Krishna's age was 89 years when the Mahabharata war started? Arjuna was 88 years. He is 1 year younger to Krishna, or almost the same age. They are born very close. So they are like very close. That also has to be seen in the chart, because his best friend and he guided him. So we have to see that in the chart as well. Right? So all of this is showing you that he is a right with number 8. Remember, number 8, when it is in a sleeping position, is infinity.
Oh, yes.
In a sleeping position is infinity. Vishnu is always reclining. He is in an infinite position. Number 8, sleeping. He's like sleeping on a Sheshanag. So the reclined Shayana, Vishnu's Shayana is infinity. He's creating multiverses after multiverses. He's in Yoga Nidra, but he's manifesting so many things.
I want to ask you about the Ras Leela, which is so badly, misinterpreted. But according to Sri K.N.Rao and his guru, who gave him the horoscope, and the guru was almost like a yogi. Krishna was only 8 years old when the Ras Leela happened. So, which means that it was more like, a playful, a child who was just playing around with, the gopis who were so fond of him. Also, the Ras Leela is supposed to be a celestial, dance, where even Shiva was so mesmerized and so curious to know and enter and watch the Ras Leela and be a participant of, that he almost dressed and disguised himself as a gopi and entered the Ras Leela to be a participant. So can you tell us something about Ras Leela and how do you interpret it through astrology?
Wow, that's something which is called as ecstasy. It's the ultimate external ecstasy that you can think in. That means all the 1,000 petals, the Sahasrara means 1,000. Sahasrara is 1,000 petals. They are all having so many more petals, and those 1,000 lotuses are blossoming, and those are the gopis. This is the blossomed thing. Okay. Now, what is happening in the Ras Leela? See, again, one more fact I want to say that nobody probably has paid attention to. Radha Rani is much elder to Krishna. So some people say, in the stories, that she was, when Krishna met her for the first time, I'll tell you also a very, very important event that you have to know. See, his mother tied him with a rope, but actually she couldn't tie him. Every time a rope was bought, it fell short. And after taking pity, because he was eating, he stole the makhan. It's called Navanita Chora. Navanita means butter. Makhan. He's taken the butter and he has eaten it. So because he has stolen it, she ties him to a kind of a wooden thing, and she's not able to tie him. But finally he says, okay, I take pity on my mother. She's bringing bigger rope, but she's not able to tie him completely. So, there are so many leelas also. Remember, when he takes some things and puts it in his mouth, mother says, what are you having in your mouth? Open your mouth. He shows the complete, Vishnu, he shows the entire universe within his mouth. That's the beauty. Okay. Now he goes. This is the first meeting of him with Radha. Okay. This is the first meeting. This has been recorded in the scriptures. So he's tied. He's only 7 years old. He's tied. And he's moving. He's trying to live, and he runs inside the forest. And he gets stuck in between two trees with the staff around, and he cannot move. And his first instance was, it is said, Radha was 12 years when he was 7 years old. So 5 years elder to him. Radha was 12-year-old girl. She came with her grandmother to visit a Mahadev temple in the forest. And as soon as Krishna was trying to wrangle himself out from the two trees, and that is also a secret, with these two trees were, cursed by Narada Rishi. That is Nalakubera and Manigriva. These are two brothers. They were cursed. They are the sons of Kubera. Nalakubera and Manigriva, or Manibhadra also is called. So they were cursed and they were released from their curse. So as soon as he was standing, he sees first time Radha during this phase. And they are eye locked into each other. It's just like a playful. After that, their real playfulness starts. They are playing. What is their age? He's 7, she's 12. So Ras Leela, when it happened, they are very, very young. What at that age can you imagine? What kind of you will know about love and all of this? It is complete. We are like kids, right? Children playing around. And you rightfully said, see, remember, Shiva was the first dancer in the world. He's called as a Nataraja, the dancing god, isn't it? Now, when he came to know about this grand event, and he's also, Adi Yogi, which means he's the first yogi. He wanted to see what is this Yogi Raj going to do, who is from my own clan, which means I am the Kul Devata of this. He's inquisitive. And he comes disguised as a gopi, and there is a temple there called as Gopeshwar Maharaj temple. Even now, when you can go to Vrindavan, you will see. He comes as part of the things, and he wants to see this ecstasy of dance. And Shiva also is there in this dance. So this is the Purnima, which means, can you imagine? It has to be a Purnima night, means full moon night, by the banks of river Yamuna.
Sharad Purnima.
Yes, beautiful it is. It is when, the sun is it's called, Ras Purnima also, when sun is debilitated. Atma is completely subliminally you have dissolved, because sun is debilitated in Libra and moon is in Aries. That is when this play happened. So it's a very beautiful, what your Atma has to dissolve, because otherwise, what does it mean? Sun debilitated means this Atma has to, the astral body, your Sthula Sharira has to, there is Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira and Karana Sharira. These are 3 different forms. Our physical is the Sthula Sharira. The physical entity gets a liberation, which means the astral entity will never come back. Physical entity will die, but the astral entity will keep coming back. So that means moksha. So this event happened to give moksha to, there were 16,100 gopis who were waiting for this event to happen. For many, many generations. Even Shiva coming and dancing, can you imagine? This becomes a very complete yogic ecstasy, I would say, which is more to do with your Kundalini Shakti awakening, and it is a kind of an explosion of energies which is happening. That's intuitive. Anyway, but these are all the tenets. We can go on for days talking about all of these things, but let me go to the chart now, Preetika ji, because that is what we are here for, and we wanted to discuss about that. Okay, let me go and talk about the many, many different charts that are being presented. Okay, this is the 16 kalas, as I said. Now, this is Sri Krishna chart, which was reconstructed by Shri Bengaluru Venkata Raman, which is called as Shri B.V.Raman as well. Very well known. His initial studies was done by his grandfather, Professor B. Suryanarayan Rao, on Krishna's chart, and he had presented. Shri B.V.Raman has improvised, and he has dated it back to, I mean, you can see there is a book by him called Notable Horoscopes, in which he has put the timing and dating based on software and information that he has collated. He has put it as 19th of July, 3228 BC, before Christ. So that's almost 5,000 years old. Okay, this is the construction is given. You see here, moon and sun, there is no contention. As we said, ascendant moon and sun, everybody believe that it's in the same place. Now, the other planets are going to be different. Like, for example, in his thing, he has put Rahu, Mars, and Venus in Cancer, and he has put Jupiter in Leo. Mercury is exalted in Virgo. This is most of the things I've seen. Moon and Mercury and Sun, mostly everybody agree. Mercury has to be in the 5th house, exalted, because he also was such an intellectual guy. Do you know, he learned 64 arts, and you know where his learning came? Only after 11 years, after he killed his uncle Kamsa. That's why I'll come to that explanation, with another chart. Okay, this is B.V.Raman's chart, that is. This is by, Sri Krishna's chart by Sri K.N.Rao. And this is, everybody can go and visit Saptarishis Astrology's videos, which was done a few years ago, and he has discussed this chart. And this was given to him apparently by his Jyotish Guru, Yogi Bhaskaranand. Okay, and he was instructed, just use this. You see here, he has given an exalted Jupiter in Karka, exalted Mars, which I also kind of agree. Exalted Mars, I agree with. Why? Because Mars is aspecting the fourth. The fourth aspect is on the 12th house. The 12th house is also the feet, and he was shot by an arrow in his feet before he left. Okay.
Is Sagittarius by any chance showing anywhere, like Sagittarius to do with the bow and arrow or something, or not really?
Sagittarius is a sign of battlefield, remember, and the highest learning. Remember, the Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna on a battlefield, not in a palace or sitting inside a Gurukul. So you have to see from the Sagittarius sign, if you see the 10th house, from Sagittarius will be Virgo, whereas Mercury, that is the instruction which is given to him. Arjuna doesn't remember the Gita that was given to him on the battlefield. It was again given to him, to Arjuna again, that is called as Pandava Gita. Again, he forgets. And finally, he was given the last thing that he remembers is the Brahma Gita. Whatever is it, it has been given in Mahabharata, and said that Arjuna forgets, keeps forgetting, till K.N.Rao says, till he becomes a Paramahamsa. Arjuna becomes a Paramahamsa. That's when he remembers the Gita. Okay. Now, I'll come to the last where I'm going to discuss today is this chart of Krishna by Sant Surdas. Absolutely brilliant chart of Surdas. Again, I'm not trying to say who is correct, who is wrong. Nobody will know. These are avatars, as I said. We will not be able to even contemplate a chart of an avatar. We are only making an attempt to understand the life. Now, whether Sant Surdas was, he knew astrology or no, we do not know. But he is in that poetry. He is given all the placements of the chart. Now, I find this chart, I'm not claiming that this is the right chart, but I'm just saying this chart has some value to it, which I am wanting to discuss. There might be other, people have put their own things, like K.N.Rao has also put very good valid points. I'm not trying to say that I'm debating with him. I don't contest that chart also. I'm not even contesting this chart. This is not my own creation. This is given by Sant Surdas. Okay, Surdas' chart. It's a beautiful thing. Now, let me tell you some of the themes that I would say. First theme that I would say here is Krishna, Lagna Lord Venus going into the 6th house. When Lagna Lord Venus goes into the 6th house, two things happen. Child will have problems in the early birth, Balarishta. And that too with an exalted Saturn. In the sixth house, diseases, or you will get attacks, diseases, and anything can happen to you. It's very, very weak. That is one thing I would say. Moon is with Ketu. Now, what is Ketu? Ketu is associated with the serpents and Seshanag also. Ketu's birth star is Ashlesha Nakshatra, where even Lord, Lakshmana is also being born in Ashlesha Nakshatra. And we know that he's an incarnation of Seshanag. Shesh is Ananta Shesha, the serpent. Okay. So Ketu sitting over the moon in ascendant is the incident that I said, that the Seshnath comes and puts an umbrella over him as soon as he's born, when he is crossing Yamuna river. Yamuna doesn't part away. Akashwani, a prophecy comes and says, please lower the basket and touch the feet of the Lord to the water, Yamuna. As soon as the Lord Krishna's baby feet touches the Yamuna just parts its way from the torrential floods and gives a clear path for Vasudeva to walk across. So the Ketu coming there with the moon is showing him that his moon Mahadasha, he was constantly being targeted by, Asuras, Rakshasas, demons, goblins being sent by Kamsa to kill him. Right from Putana. Putana was who wanted to make him drink the poisoned milk, but she died when he was only 6 days, right? So that Ketu there with the moon, also very close to the moon, is giving him charisma. Ketu gives you sometimes absolute charisma and also detachment also, Ketu. Now, Rahu in the 7th, and that too in Scorpio. You know what is it? What happens when Rahu comes? Multiple partners. That to Jupiter aspect, 9th aspect of Jupiter is there on the 7th house. 16,100 gopis are supposed to be his wives as well. But I told you there is a yogic side to it as well. Don't take it as literally. But can you see if he has to have, and then 7th Lord, if you see Venus, what is Venus? Kalatra Karaka, which means representing, a love affair. Venus shows you that. Kalatra means marriage also. But now Venus is sitting here with Saturn. His first lover was much elder to him. Whenever Saturn comes with Venus, it can give you a lover who's elder to you.
Right.
Right? Because Saturn is old, slow planet, and it's old. So it gives you something older when it is connected with Venus, Shukra. So as I said, people believe 5 to 8 years elder. Some people believe 5 years elder, but definitely she was elder than Krishna. Okay. Then, Preetika, one more thing I will say, and then we can killing of Kamsa. 6th house is in Jyotish Shastra is given to uncles. Maternal uncle is 6th house.
Okay.
So Lagna Lord sitting in the 6th house with Saturn, which is his Yoga Karaka. Remember, Saturn is his Yoga Karaka. His activation started as soon as he left Gokul to go and kill his uncle. On Mahashivratri day, he slayed Kamsa in his 11th year. Sant Surdas's description in the poetry of his chart is looking absolutely a stunning chart. Mother and father were in jail. You have to see the influence of Saturn and Mars on the 12th house or the 12th Lord. So remember, his 9th house Lord Saturn is in 6th house. His father was in jail, aspecting the 12th house. Mars aspecting his son, which is his 4th house Lord. Mars is the 12th house Lord. Remember, 12th house Lord aspect on the 4th or the 9th house, or them aspecting the 12th house can show some difficulties during his childbirth for his parents.
Okay, but does it show that Krishna was a Yug Purush or an avatar from his horoscope?
See, a lot of planets in exaltations. And remember, there is nothing in Kendras except nodes and the moon. Kendra, if you say only sun, moon, and nodes are there in the Kendra, if you take Surdas's chart. Other charts, you know, they might have different opinions, but I'm just saying it's we cannot say that anybody is a Yug Purush, but what Leelas he has done is definitely something that you can say, because see, the importance here I'm giving to the Sun and Shukra. Sun is in Mul Trikona, Leo, and Venus is in Mul Trikona, Libra, Tula Rashi. And Tula Rashi, when Shukra comes, it is trying to bring a balance, but in a very beautiful manner, which means Shukra will not be, he has an exalted a Mars in the 9th house. What is an exalted Mars? He was just a strategist, a master strategist of the Mahabharata war. 9th house, but also 9th house Mars shows greatest teachings given on the battlefield. Mars is the battlefield or the war that is happening. His greatest teaching of his avatar came of the Bhagavad Gita, the 9th house. The highest teaching that you can give is the 9th house. And Buddha is sitting in, Buddha is your most closest bosom friend is seen from Buddha, which is Mercury. And again, we do not know because we don't know the degrees, but my best guess work is Buddha could have been in Uttara Falguni Nakshatra in Virgo. Why? Uttara Falguni is Arjuna. Arjuna's name is called as Falguna. He's also called as Falguna.
Okay.
He's also, see, Uttara Falguni makes you ambidextrous. You know what is ambidextrous? That you can use both your left hand and your right hand to skill. You can write also with your left hand, you can write also with your right hand, you can paint with your left hand, and you can do something else with your right hand. So Arjuna was called as ambidextrous, and that is Uttara Falguni straight. You know why? And how do we know? Is one of the names of Arjuna. Savya Sachin was the name. In Bengal, they call it Savya Sachi.
Okay.
Savya Sachi is Savya Sachin. Savya means somebody who is able to use both the dexterity of both your hands. So he could use his right arm and with left arm to use the bow, or he would use the right. He could use both. So that is his skill. Absolutely skillful. So everything is a reconstruction. There is nothing we can say with any form of assurity. I'm just presenting the data which has been given by various scholars, sayings, and scriptural evidences which have been referring to his birth. And we are just trying to represent that. And knowing that Krishna is a character that is being played and just not a myth or a legend. He is really walked on this earth. There are so many incidences that even sons and fakirs also would say about his presence. Still today, if you ask anybody who has gone to Vrindavan and people who do Girivalam, who go against, circumambulating the mountain, Govardhan, people have so many leelas. I have heard people who say, you might, when you are doing your walk around the mountain, you will see Krishna come and smile at you, and you can see all his 32 teeth, white teeth like silver, smiling at you sometimes, and he'll just disappear. So many such stories you will have. Unless you experience that, you will not know the leelas that he's still playing, still doing. People still feel his presence there. And that cannot be just a fiction of our imagination, is what I feel. Only those people who experience, see, bhakti is something which makes you realize. See, even when you look at other religions also, like Sufism in Islam, that's also bhakti marg. Just like Sufi marg is there, they are also mast maula, which means they are also in ecstasy. These saints, these fakirs and these saints are in complete love. That is a different kind of love that they have with God, that we will not be able to understand.
Like it was for Meera.
Jyotish is not the science of only predictions. Jyotish is a science of self-correction. If there is no self-correction that we are doing at a different phases of our life, then there is no meaning to understanding karmas, and you don't have to just know about what is your past, what is your present, and what is your future.
Whatever the real horoscope is doesn't matter. I think what matters is the fact that Krishna still lives and continues to live in our heart. And thank you, Dr. Pai, for these beautiful stories and these beautiful discoveries from your research that you shared with us today. And let's hope I get to do more episodes with you, because you're like a gem when it comes to astrology and research. On that note, I think we should end this episode by saying Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.